As we come on the air, there are 800,000 people in the state of Arizona who are right now being deprived of full representation in Congress, thanks to House Speaker Mike Johnson's refusal to swear in their Congresswoman-elect, Adelita Grijalva. Mike Johnson has double and triple and quadrupled down on his refusal to seat Grijalva. He is claiming that he's following House traditions of swearing in members only during regular sessions, except that isn't his own tradition. As with many things MAGA Republican, there's an obvious and clear double standard staring us in the face. When Republicans are the ones who win and would benefit, Mike Johnson, as he did in April, swore in 2 new House GOP members during a pro forma session. Watch.
Will Representatives-elect Fine and Petronas and members of the Florida delegation present themselves in the well? As all members rise and the representatives-elect, will you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, you're now members of the 119th Congress.
See? Mike, you can do it. That oath was administered when they were not in session, and importantly, within 24 hours of those Republicans' victories. Now, almost a month after Representative-elect Grijalva's victory to represent her late father's district, the state of Arizona is taking legal action. Arizona's Attorney General Chris Mays has filed a lawsuit against Mike Johnson for blocking Grijalva from being sworn in to do the job she was elected to do. He argues that, quote, constitutional rights cannot be used as a bargaining chip. Attorney General Mays adds in a piece for MSNBC this, quote, this isn't just an attack on the voters of Arizona's 7th district. It's an affront to every American who has a constitutional right to representation in Congress. Let's be blunt. This is taxation without representation, the very injustice that sparked the American Revolution 250 years ago. As for Mike Johnson's motives for breaking his own very recent precedent and refusing to seat Grijalva, a Democratic representative, we're left to guess, but we do know that Grijalva has promised publicly to be the pivotal 218th signature on the House's bipartisan Epstein discharge petition. The filing from Arizona's Attorney General states this, quote, Speaker Johnson has not identified any valid reason for refusing to promptly seat Ms. Grijalva. Instead, on information and belief, Speaker Johnson wishes to delay seating Ms. Grijalva to prevent her from signing a discharge petition that would force a vote on the release of the Epstein files and or to strengthen his hand in the ongoing budget and appropriations negotiations. That is where we start today. I want to bring in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva of Arizona. Also joining me at the table, former Criminal Division Deputy Chief at SDNY, MSNBC legal analyst, the host of the YouTube show Courtside, Christy Greenberg is here. Joining us as well, Tara Palmieri. She writes the Red Letter on Substack and has hosted 2 acclaimed podcast series on the topic called Broken, Jeffrey Epstein, and Power, the Maxwells. Representative-elect Grijalva, just take us inside your current state of limbo.
It's basically we have access to what was my dad's office. It'll be my office until December of 2026. We have keys. We have, I have a laptop, but we don't have access to any of the databases that are important. And respectfully, I can't serve constituents until I'm sworn in and actually have constituents.
Have you had any conversations with Speaker Mike Johnson about why he saw to it to swear in 2 Republican representatives when Congress wasn't in session, but won't see to it to swear you in?
You know, I heard him say, there's been no direct conversation with me and Speaker Johnson. He's made flippant comments and sort of these explanations that are and excuses that are debunked on a regular basis. But what he said is that the two members from Florida scheduled an appointment for them to be sworn in, which I'm like, how do I sign up for that gig? And that they brought in their families. And so that's why they made the exception. But so if I sign up and bring in my family, will he swear me in? No, he's basically continued to make excuses about why I'm not sworn in, and has not made any effort to communicate those to me directly.
Have you walked into his office and tried to ask him for one of those appointments?
Well, we did go down. I went with a couple of friends down to his office to try to get some attention. He wasn't there. And I respectfully don't know when he is there. I did call. I've left 2 messages. We sent a letter, and then AG May sent a demand letter. I did recently, just yesterday, receive a call from his chief, to sort of, because I'd called and said, do we schedule a meeting, or how does this happen? Then he gave me the number to another chief to schedule something. But at this point, now that the lawsuit has been filed, it's probably better for me not to have any direct communication with him outside of legal counsel.
Is the lawsuit intended for a court and a judge to require him to swear you in? And would you drop the lawsuit if he proceeded and swore you in?
Well, and this is for Attorney General Mays, to weigh in, but our big issue is swear her in, give us a date. And that's why I think, people have been asking, well, why did we take so long? Well, one, my race is certified. And once that happened, then Attorney General Mays, I think, started looking at, okay, so what are the other reasons? Because being in a shutdown does not preclude swearing people in, because there was a whole class in 2019 that were sworn in during a shutdown. I mean, I've met with many members of Congress that were sworn in a special. It's pretty common, and it's supposed to happen fairly quickly. So this stalling is just really highlighting why Speaker Johnson is doing this. And the other is it's just blatant obstruction.
What is your sense of how desperate he is to avoid this vote on the discharge petition?
Well, we do know that Speaker Johnson ended cases early.
His best pal Mikey are getting dragged into court. It's Mikey directly, Trump more indirectly, but given why this is happening, this is also about Donald Trump. And Trump knows it, and we all know it. Because there's the fact that this is happening in the context of Trump's assault on democracy. Remember, he has since before J6, since the 2020 election, and it looked like there was a good chance he was going to lose because all the polling showed he was going to lose. He was crying about how the election wasn't going to be fair, and then he lost. And then he tried to do a fascist coup. He failed, thankfully, that time, right? And then all since then, and continuing to this day, he's continued to undermine democracy. And in that context, the GOP refuses to swear in a duly elected member of Congress, even though she clearly won the district. And her people, hundreds of thousands of people now, have no representation from their congresswoman because they won't swear her in. And it's also in the context of the shutdown, of course, but let's be clear. This woman, by virtue of the fact that she's a Democrat, and the Democrats have been united on this, along with a few Republicans, and specifically because she said, if you send me to Congress, one of the things I will do is be the very last vote needed, the tipping point vote, to get the dirt on Trump's best buddy, Jeff. And what happened on that island with Ghislaine and members of the royal family and on and on and on. And if you want that info, at least a good chunk of it, which we could get some movement on, if we can get a vote in the House and basically override the Republican majority, we could do that. And so to protect Trump, he's not swearing her in. That's the reason, and it's the only reason. It's not the shutdown reason. There's been moments, because it's like, oh, the House isn't in session. Well, there have been moments where we weren't in a shutdown recently, but there was an out-of-session swearing in. The Congress wasn't quite in session yet, but a special election happened, and there was a swearing in of a Republican congressman. But because this is the tipping point and the goal is to protect Trump, they're not swearing her in. So this trial, which is a lawsuit suing Johnson, will not avoid the fact that the primary motive for his action revolves around Donald Trump and protecting him.